We have started streaming. We have started recording. Steven Benson, it's an honor to have you on today. Fucking thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Oh man, thank you. I mean, I feel honored to be here. Come on.
Hell yeah.
Um,
Tell us,
yeah.
tell us
So,
about yourself, please, please.
well, I think you had reached out to me because I have just kind of made this short film. I'm here in Hot Springs, Arkansas. I don't think we had a chance to discuss exactly where you are, but you know, growing up, I really had this kind of passion for film, and it started out with like comic books. I not anything close to like the MCU and what that
Yeah.
represents, but like well, I mean, I started out with like Ghost Rider and Moon Knight and a bunch of the Marvel Knight stuff, and then kind of progressed into like oh gosh, what was it, like Warren Ellis, Garth Ennis, that kind of stuff, and the Vertigo and Marvel Max stuff. And so, when I started out, I was like, well, I could write comic books. That could be fun.
Yeah.
And I always was a fan of movies, um, but I really hadn't put together yet that that was what I wanted to do. Um, for me, I mean, a lot of my sort of experience with movies was, as cheesy as this sounds, my grandfather was a big fan of like John Wayne. And so there were like John Wayne, Clint Eastwood westerns that I would watch, and Rio Bravo by Howard Hawks, I think, is one of the greatest films of all time. To this day, I mean, it just is. Um, it was good enough they remade it three times. I was like Rio Bravo, Rio Lobo, El Dorado. It's like it all kind of runs together at some point. Um, but it wasn't until I was about 16, and again, this is kind of stereotypical, but I happened upon Reservoir Dogs. And I mean, seeing Reservoir Dogs really put things into perspective, because before I could say, oh, I want to be a novelist, or I want to be like a comic book writer, but I really saw that there was this whole world out there that I didn't like realize, and
Absolutely.
I mean, it showed me that you could make a movie and make it interesting just by showing a couple of guys sitting around a diner.
Absolutely, man.
And that blew my mind. It was like, it was like, watching, I mean, I think who was it? Gosh. Um Jeff Bridges, described that seeing Pulp Fiction for the first time was like seeing the Talking Heads in concert.
Yeah.
It's like it's something that just stays with you. And so Tarantino, I think a lot of people have kind of drawn comparisons to my work towards him. But I think, oh gosh, I think he was, and I think he was kind of this gateway drug into a
Oh
bigger,
my god.
broader world of film and of cinema.
You could not have
Um,
put it better.
exactly, and I mean, I see that as a common trend among filmmakers. It's like, that's the entry point, and by the time you get through his filmography, like, by the time you hit Death Proof, you're like going back and watching like Faster Pussycat Kill and Vanishing Point. Like you're trying to connect the dots.
Absolutely.
And so, I mean, to me, it's like regardless of what you think of Tarantino and his body of work, I think he has really opened doors for a lot of young guys, um, to kind of discover what he was a fan of and what he admired.
Of course,
Um,
of course.
yeah,
His dialogue alone. If
yeah.
there's
Well, and that was something that I've been praised for. I'm not saying I'm near as good as Tarantino,
I
but
was literally about to compliment you on your dialogue in this film.
That seems to be a common thing, that I can write dialogue very well, and I don't know. It usually, it kind of comes to me, and it's like I'll be like washing dishes, and I'll be like, huh, well, that could be kind of funny. And then I'll like, I mean, I keep my phone with me everywhere I go for like notes,
Yeah.
and so there's a lot of like different ideas jumping around, and I'll like pull off of that for one script and so on. So I mean, dialogue is something very important to me as far as filmmaking. I mean, because I think, you don't want to be the guy who's writing for radio, but like, there's no money in that. But if you think about like the films that people remember the most, it's usually very quotable ones.
Absolutely.
You talk about Aaron Sorkin, you talk about, gosh, I mean, Quentin Tarantino, Martin McDonagh has this amazing humor about him and wit. There's just, that's something that I've always admired, and that was something I wanted to put into my own work. And around 2018, like I said, like being 16 and kind of seeing that that film and going through Tarantino's filmography and his influences, and then their influences and other filmmakers that were emulating him and the films that he liked.
Yeah.
In 2018, I came up with this idea that ultimately became Hopeless Romantic, which is why I'm here. So,
Um, number one thing I want to say about this film, man. I've seen movies on Netflix that like are like so shit they don't even compare to your movie itself, which is insane because you can't say that about like the fucking majority of the things that people throw up on YouTube to show
come on.
their.
I mean, that's very flattering. I know it's flattering, but I mean, I don't. I don't want any of this to go to my head.
It's
It's
too
like
late.
I keep waiting for I keep waiting for somebody to like tap me and like find out I'm stuck in the like dream world or something. Because I mean, it's just surreal. And I mean, the trailer that I sent, I don't know if you can like show that, or
I
we're
can.
going to show that. Yeah,
We
go
are.
ahead and show that.
All right. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
how I found out about this film, real quick.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. Yeah.
So we're both in a group on Facebook, indie filmmakers with low budget. Yeah, it's something along that line.
Yeah, it's something like that. I mean, this was definitely low budget, believe it or not. Yeah.
Yeah, but he contacted me and said like, "Hey, I'm really interested in doing this interview because I put up on there, hey, I want to do an interview with whoever." This is the first film interview I've done on Twitch, and when I watched it, it stood upon a lot of the movies that I've watched. There was a lot of movies that I've seen personally that were just complete shit. I mean, not not like complete shit, but
No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
with a low budget and basically most of it, crutching on that dialogue, on those actors, on the directing, on the cuts. You stood so far above your own crowd, like your peers, man. I mean, honestly,
you.
if there's one thing I should say, but I'm going to do that real quick. I'm going to pull it up.
Yes, thank you.
Shit. I may have fucked it up real quick.
Oh no.
Here's the trailer for Hopeless Romantic. I do want everyone in this. Shit.
Trying to. Is it playing?
It is.
Okay, cool.
Who works there?
What, another stripper?
No, man, this is a classy girl. She's a singer, and her name's Lizzie.
Fascinating.
You think the name's sexy? Wait till you see her legs, man. You're gonna fall in love.
This is for the closed casket.
What the fuck are you doing?
The way the light hits you, right? Yeah, you're really beautiful.
You know, Matt, I think things are finally starting to look up for us.
Johnny's always had his way lately, everything and more. Johnny goes from place to place nightly, feeling no remorse.
Son of a bitch!
Didn't you on there, buddy? Making off too much?
Broke it last night playing Twister with your old lady.
Call me anytime.
I'll call you Friday.
It's gonna be a little shitty getting back to this. Okay. There we go. All right.
I'm reading in the chat that my volume is not great, so.
Oh no! That was me on the trailer. Accidentally.
Oh, it was.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
All
my
right.
bad. I was playing Siege and I had like some trap music playing. Dude, again, astounding film. Oh my god! When I watched it, I was like, Jesus Christ! Like this really, this is good. This is good shit.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, and so so if you saw in the trailer, I mean, it does seem to be that people enjoy it. Like, and I mean, even like the reviews in that trailer, if you saw them, Stephen Tobolowsky and Manu Intiraymi of Star Trek Voyager. Gosh, just the people that I've connected with that have seen this film and had this kind of positive reaction, it's been incredibly humbling. I mean, in a way, because like when you're a short filmmaker, I mean it's like, yeah, your mom's gonna love it, but like you want to you want it to make something that people connect with, and it seems like that's what I've done so far, and that's what that's what it's all about. I mean, there obviously there were issues, there were little hiccups along the way, especially with it being my debut, but I think I would call it a promising start.
Yeah, dude. Oh my, like promising start, motherfucker. You're Barry Bonds in the playoffs. Don't don't sit here and talk about promising start. You came out of the gate swinging.
Okay, all right.
Some of my first thoughts on this film.
Yeah, go for it, man.
Incredible. The two main actors, the two people you meet within the first couple minutes of this.
Yeah.
I was in awe. I think I'm drawn to them. Now, there's not a lot of short films that people put out on YouTube. Not like fucking Miramar or fucking like it's not. There's not a lot of short films where people send up their work where it's not like you're drawn to that character, their writing, their dialogue, their acting. And that did that within minutes of it. I was like, oh, fuck, you know what? I like this. I was watching this last night with one of my boys, and he was like, you know what? I can't decide if I like or hate this guy. And I was like, me too. And that keeps me... Sorry, my dog's
No, it's
doing
good,
his little
man.
thing back there.
And, I mean, the thing about, Sammy and really Matt, too. I mean, wonderfully played by Marcus Mitchell, Jeff Freeman. I think the world of them. Mm-hmm. They were just they were fantastic in their parts, and I like films that have sort of the guts to just take a slimy environment, take this morally gray sort of place, and let the characters that inhabit that environment be themselves.
And that's one of the things that I loved. He's definitely a slimy character, but there's a part of you
They're
that's
all
rooting for him.
kind of slimy in their own way.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
I mean, if anyone who's watching this is 21 and went to a bar, you've met some of these people. You've seen these people, and like, it's nice to get that slice of life type of thing in this film.
No, yeah, and I mean that was very intentional. Is like, I mean, I felt like, I don't want you to focus. Like, if you walked away from this with the idea that Matt is some kind of hero, then I haven't done my job.
Yeah.
You have your own emotions about Matt, have your own emotions about Sammy, Skylar, Lila, whoever the character is you're talking about. They're just themselves. I allowed them, it was intentional of me to allow them to sort of breathe and interact, and trying to do that and trying to give you a snippet, like a day in the life, and then like the last night, like a month later, trying to set all of that up in 20 pages was incredibly difficult, but I think we pulled it off.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely. And if anyone here in the stream is watching this, please, after this, because I need those views. Please go check out this film. Leah, if you could throw up the actual film, I don't know if I sent that to you. If not, I can. It's Hopeless Romantic on YouTube. Insane.
Yeah.
Insane. One thing I definitely want to talk to you about. Fuck. I have to send that to Leah real quick.
Yeah. Did you get the link to the short film?
I might need another one in Discord, and then I'll just send it over to her.
Okay, hold on. I will get that for you. You go ahead.
While you're sending that, I was wondering if you could elaborate a little bit more on the character, not the. How do I word this? I don't want to spoil it. The character that I loved. We talked about it prior.
Yeah, I mean, you can. I mean, honestly, the film has been out since December 25th of 2020. So, I mean, we can talk about, a little bit of spoilers. We can put a spoiler warning, before we talk about some of the more, bigger stuff. But I think you were talking about Harry. That was his name in the script.
Yes.
The guy with the shotgun.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Harry?
Hold on. Harry.
Fucking.
Yes.
Well, I'll let you do all that. Harry was fucking outstanding. If someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, I want to shoot a short film," and you get an actor, not a lot of people put everything they can into that. This guy, holy fuck, this dude was a professional. Like he was like a hitman. He came for your feelings. Like, I love him.
No, wait a minute. Are you talking about the guy that gets shot with the shotgun, or the guy that shoots with the shotgun?
The guy that shoots with the shotgun.
Okay, now you're talking about Matt.
Fuck.
I remember. Okay.
Harry's a piece of shit, and don't you ever forget that. I'm kidding.
Yes.
Matt fucking amazed me. I mean, like, again, it's not a big budget. It's a short film, and he came out swinging. Oh, yeah. Fuck. He's actually in the chat. Mark's Mitchell.
Oh, wow. There he is. Okay.
Oh, wow. Dude, Mark, fucking thank you. Jesus Christ. You carried that shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah, Mark, you fucking blew me out of my seat. I was sitting here watching YouTube pantsless, because that's what I do. I don't like having pants or underwear on while I'm watching YouTube. Dude,
mean, you can go commando.
Why wouldn't you? It's your own deal. Dude, oh my god, one of my favorite parts of that movie was him. Just the way he delivered his lines, the way he did this and that, like, it was outstanding.
No, I mean, that was very much, I didn't have to do very much with directing him. I mean, he just kind of immediately understood the character. I'll admit, we went back and forth. There was like one other guy, and then we were like, you know what, this guy gets it, and we were so glad, not to disparage the other actor, but we were just so glad that we went with Marks, because I think Marks really held that film together. And
Oh, absolutely.
I think Marks is one of those guys that, he needs like a big like feature. I mean, what needs to happen with Marks? Somebody, probably myself, I mean, anybody really, you know, they need to put him in a role like what they did with The Godfather. You've got Marlon Brando, who's like the tent pole. I mean, you could argue Diane Keaton was kind of a tent pole at the time, because she was also like working with Woody Allen and stuff like that at the time. But really, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, all of those guys were just local New York theater people at the time. I think, gosh, was Godfather 1 or 2? Was that before Taxi Driver? I mean,
I think 1 was before Taxi Driver. I could be wrong about that, so don't call me a fucking asshole.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's just, you've got to find, there's a lot of bad actors out there, and a lot of people, they want to put themselves as the star of their own script. And we just knew, I mean, Marks was perfect. I cannot praise him enough for his performance and for what he's brought to
Oh my
film.
god! Like I said, he was outstanding. I mean, that's one of the main points of your film that are like, Jesus Christ. He came in. He didn't even like come in for the money and leave. He came in, did his fucking job, and then he did it well. You don't see that often.
He absolutely did, and I mean, Marks. Marks was a police lieutenant here in Arkansas for some time. In Arkansas, again, not to be disparaging to any Arkansas film community folks, but, we're kind of known for, like, God's Not Dead kind of stuff,
Yeah.
And there's some people that really want to break away from that and do edgy kind of new inventive things. And I know like True Detective season 3 was shot up in, like around Fort Smith, Fayetteville, somewhere in that area. And there was actually a movie that was shot with Ron Perlman, not far from that. And Marks was an extra in that. Marks was also an extra in Bad Boys for Life.
Yeah. Are you serious? I'm gonna look out for his ass now.
Yeah. Go to his IMDb, man. It's all there. And so, I don't know if any of those were like talking moments or whatever. If he was his background, but he came in. He did the audition, and we just knew, and that's very rare. I mean, that was kind of a common theme, is that we just got incredibly lucky, and basically on all fronts. I mean, so
Absolutely.
Yeah.
3 quick things. One, my buddy Basic Wolf in the chat said that Taxi Driver came out after both Godfather 1 and 2.
So that even proves my point even more. You know, it's like,
I mean, personally, fuck you, Basic Wolf, for calling me an asshole. But secondly,
no, you're kind of an asshole. I mean, but
what can you do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Second thing that I wanted to note, Mark, one of the two.
Marks, yeah.
He really gave me that Tim Roth vibe. And I'll say this now because I'll say it 100 times. Your film is drenched in Quentin Tarantino like vibes. And
yeah, so I want to hear how you think Marks is Tim Roth. That's interesting because there's a story about that.
I'll tell you why. Sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
So when I first started getting into film and everything, the one movie which is still my number one movie today is Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah, that was very much my experience.
Exactly,
Well, yeah.
which is like I wanted to tell you that before, but I was like, oh fuck, we got to get it on the stream.
Yeah, right.
The scene where Tim Roth is going through his story to like cover up his identity in Reservoir Dogs very much reminds me of the way I felt like Mark's fucking acted. It was like fucking on every detail. I went like there was a hand dryer. There was fucking. It just felt so much like if I were to relate you to Quentin Tarantino, your Tim Roth would be Mark's. I mean, he amazing.
See,
amazing actor.
that was funny. I never really compared Mark's to Tim Roth, but funny enough, I being a first time director, I had the actors and actresses that had bigger parts. I was like, this is what I want you to watch to kind of understand the characters. And one of the films that I sent to Mark's, I think it was probably the only film that I sent to Mark's, because we knew he pretty much had it. But I was just like, if you could watch this and pay really close attention to Harvey Keitel's character, which kind of goes back to Taxi Driver, but it was the Mr. White character that I really saw in Mark's. I find it interesting that you went Tim Roth, but we were really going for Harvey Keitel in the sense that, he's this guy who he's trying to do right, he's trying to do the right thing, but he's kind of destined to fail. And I mean that. Spoilers for Reservoir Dogs.
That movie's been out too long. Don't ever say spoiler for Reservoir Dogs.
Right. But Mr. Orange and Mr. White's relationship was very much something that we were drawing from with Matt and Sammy, and so that. I'm glad that shows through.
I really gotta pee, but there's so many questions I gotta ask you.
Yeah, we got lots to talk about.
I'm gonna ask you a question. I'm gonna let you run with it. You can say whatever you want. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be banned on Twitch if I ever do get big. I'm gonna go take a piss. But please, fucking the scene where you broke the pan. I want to get into, because and this could just be me and you, but like between that in that scene when I watched it, I was like, I don't think she meant to break the pan, but when she broke it, they were like, "Fuck, that's a shot."
Yeah. So, oh boy, on the record, there was. That became an intentional thing, because we were trying to do this thing.
I'm so
where there
sorry.
was,
I have to go pee. I'll be right back. Please don't stop. I'll be
okay,
fast.
all right. I'm talking to the audience.
Yeah.
It's my show now. So basically, I mean, the funny thing about the breaking of the panel and the 180 rule, that was very much it became intentional as a way to say that these characters are disoriented, they've been out on a night on the town, they've been drinking. The ending shot, which I won't spoil too much, but it also draws from Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless. So if you've seen, is he peeing? Can you hear him peeing? Oh God. Anyway, but the the ending of Breathless, actually the entirety of Breathless, is broken up into these very short
Sorry.
quick cut back.
Sorry, I ran. I'm out of breath. I'm fat.
Right. So I was trying to talk to your audience here about disorientation with drinking and breathless and like the French New Wave, where you have these sort of quick cuts, and stuff, and it was like Jean-Luc Godard just doing whatever he wanted to
Yeah.
because he could, Now, if you would like a little bit off the record, I feel comfortable in saying the actress who was attached as the lounge singer was kind of a bit of a diva. There were some problems and troubles on set that ensued. This is not really a huge secret.
Before you go any further,
Right,
as you're bringing that
no,
up,
I mean, I feel comfortable in saying this, but go ahead.
100%. As you're bringing that up, I did want to, bring up the fact that within the movie, in the short film, there is a sequence in the bar that is, chopped up. And we talked a little bit prior before the interview, but as we're talking now, I just wanted to bring that up to the audience, why there was a choppy sequence in the bar.
Right. So, it was like an unhappy little accident, I guess. Certain actresses have and actors too, they have a very certain idea of the film in their heads. They have a certain idea as to what they've signed on to versus what the director's intention is.
Absolutely.
And so we kind of ran into that. Her singing Spot. We were trying to kind of just say, hey, this scene of you singing, like, yeah, we need close-ups. We need certain shots that I had already storyboarded with my cinematographer, but we're never going to be able to fit the full 5-minute song into the film. And that seemed to be a point of contention. Which was bizarre because almost half of the film, or half of the song rather, is like a guitar solo. So it seemed out of place to just put the whole thing, in the film, but I think she was concerned about her coverage, and so it wound up costing us time that we needed to get the reverse coverage when the two characters were having their drinks after the song. And so that was kind of done as a way to make up for things that were in like in the script. If I sent you the script, it would just say, like, we're gonna show Matt's reaction to learning this terrible truth. We won't say what the truth is, but yeah, it was very much intended to be shot a different way, and so we kind of had to make up things on the fly because of that one, thing. So I wouldn't say that it takes away from the film as a whole.
No.
But it was just sort of a
It'll take you out of it a bit. I'll say that. It will take you out of the film a tiny bit.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but I mean, I feel like it bounces back.
Oh, absolutely.
Quick. Yeah, and I don't think it knocks too much off our IMDb score.
No. While we're actually on this topic, again, loved your film. One of the two main problems I had was those cuts, which you've formerly talked about before, and the death, the death at the end. And there's a certain character in this film, which I don't want to spoil it because I want the chat to go and watch it. There's a
And,
death.
and please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I
Please.
mean, yeah, right, exactly, yeah. Go ahead.
There's a death at the end, but you don't really understand why that death is occurring. And they, in the beginning, you get the gist of like, there's a problem. Like this character has a problem in the film, but it's
Sure.
never really brought up more than that.
Okay. So it does kind of come out of the blue. I think what I was trying to say, and this actually ties into what some people have told me. I mean, believe me, I've gotten these comparisons uh, to everyone from Quentin Tarantino to Shane Black. There's a bunch of people who have said, S. Craig Zahler and a couple of others. One of the comparisons I got was Martin Scorsese, and I was actually, they said the person who said it was that the themes and characters remind me of early Scorsese. That person, their review was in the trailer, and that was Stephen Tobolowsky, who is just a masterclass actor. He's been in Groundhog's Day. He's been in Memento with Christopher Nolan's Memento.
Yeah.
He's been in a huge variety of films in very memorable little parts. So, hearing that from him was especially humbling, and especially flattering. But it's funny because there was an intentional nod to Scorsese in that death that you're describing.
Yeah.
So a common recurring theme that was brought up in the film quite a bit was playing cards. And I don't want to give away like the whole thing, but if you've seen The Departed by
Yes.
Martin Scorsese, there's an homage to that involved. There's an homage in The Departed to the original 1930s Scarface. Not the Al Pacino 80s one, but like the original one from the 1930s. And basically, every time you see an X on screen, in both The Departed and the 1930s Howard Hawks Scarface, something bad is about to happen. Someone's about to die. Something terrible is going to happen, and so in a way, that became kind of this interesting idea that I had that with the X's, it was like you were trying to say that these characters are marked for death.
Yeah.
With this, it was almost like the cards are stacked against them. And so, if you pay very close attention to the dialogue in the car, there's a line about things falling like a house of cards. And so that's kind of foreshadowing thing. The character in the motel room, Harry, who gets shot, that's not a spoiler. I mean, that's in the trailer, right? Yeah, but there's like playing cards on the table when he dies as well. And so what I was really trying to say was that when this one character that you're referring to dies at the end, that house of cards has fallen, and there's this semblance of the character that kills this other character has sort of abandoned the life he once lived. He sheds himself of a certain sling, kind of thing, and drops his gun and walks off into the night.
Yeah.
So that to me was very symbolic of, it had to be this way. If you want to go even further with Scorsese, it's like The Irishman. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is, Jimmy. It's
Again, man, this film stands out. I mean, even at the end when you don't exactly understand why the twist is happening. I mean, before, we talked about it. The fact that the twist is there just it complements the fact that this movie is it's a great movie. I mean,
well, thank you.
The dialogue itself, man, Jesus fuck. I could sit on this couch right behind me for years and not write dialogue like you fucking did.
No, come on,
for these
man,
two assholes. I mean,
yeah, well, I mean, it's. I mean, I think being in Arkansas, you kind of, you hear certain things that, like you said, you can go to a bar and hear people like this, and so as a screenwriter, it's like I'll be at Walmart or wherever, like the grocery store, and it's like, oh, what are they saying, and it's like you feel rude eavesdropping on conversations, but it's one of those things. I mean, it's you have no idea how much material is born out of just either little things that you just hear,
yeah.
I remember, and go to Walmart at 3 in the morning. It's the most amazing experience. I remember. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Please go ahead. I'm trying to catch up.
No. I mean, it's like everybody down here has a Walmart story. Everybody has a Waffle House story. It's just, did somebody have a question?
Yes. Actually, user ZW said, "Hey, my brother worked on this." I didn't know if maybe you could decipher that for a second. But while we're on that,
oh yeah. Hey Zach, how's it going?
Oh shit.
Yeah,
God! I thought you did it without the Walker. I was like, oh shit. He's like the modern day Batman.
ZW. I believe that's Zach Walker and Walker Walthall. Is it Walthall? Walker Walthall and his brother Zach Walthall?
ZW, you're on the spot. There it is, yeah!
Yeah, okay, yes. Walker which is such a badass name. Sorry, Zach, you got cheated on that one, because, I mean, Walker's Texas Ranger over here. But Walker was our first AD, or not AD, AC. He was the assistant camera.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but we thought the world of him. He did great.
Yeah, Marks thinks he's a cool little dude. So
yeah,
that's awesome, man.
I would describe him as a cool little dude. And Zach helped Walker with the very first logo we had when we were first setting up the Facebook page. So, much love to the Walthalls.
Fuck yeah. Hell yeah, give it up for the Walthalls. Yeah. Anyway, to get back to what you were saying, man, I 100% agree. One of the main things that Quentin Tarantino said is he used to go to prisons, not like go to a prison.
I had not heard this, yeah.
But he would go and visit some of these prisoners, and he would get the lingo for his movies. He would get little fucking words and shit that they would say, and he would use it in his movie. And I mean, I've been in Walmart just dozing off into baseball bats. I don't even play baseball. I'm just stupid. I'm like, and I'll hear something and I'm like, wow, I want to use that so bad. I mean, there's so many people. I
remember, in this one I haven't even put in a movie, but I mean, and to be honest, I'll tell you. Well, let me jump around a bit.
Go ahead.
The bartender who is in the film, who interacts with Marks. That's actually my mom's boyfriend. His name is Cliff Crook. He's great guy. You know, we thought the world of him. We're trying to convince him to do more movies, but he's not into that. He's more concerned with like his racehorses and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm like, dude, you look like Clint Eastwood. Like, you need to do this. Like, but yeah, he's a great guy, and I mean, just little things that he says, even. I mean, you know, they're just funny. I mean, they're little, you know, you pull from everywhere. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, I remember like there's often times that he'll come over or whatever, and we're all having dinner, and it's these little expressions or euphemisms or what have you, and I remember one time he sat down and he said something was colder than a well digger's ass.
Sorry, I don't even know what a well digger's ass is like.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It was a well digger's ass in Alaska, and I was like, where does that come from? That's amazing.
Holy shit, Walker's here. Thank you, Walker, for your shit.
Hi, Walker. How's it going?
But yeah, man. Again,
my grandfather even had little sayings like that. I mean, you know, he would, and so I guess it comes naturally. You know,
100%.
I remember my grandfather had this great sense of humor, and he used to say someone was naive as whale shit, which is like. That's a layered joke because, like, you know, like whales, you know, when they shit, it goes all the way to the bottom of the ocean, you know. So it's like you're completely in the dark. It's like a much cooler, much more interesting way of saying like a mushroom, you know.
Older people had way better fucking insights, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, you kind of get the gist of, yeah.
While we're on the topic, two of the things that I fucking cackled at, like I loved, to this day, I'm like, that is an amazing part of this film. When they kick in the door and there's a zoom in. Again, I originally, I know we talked about.
You can spoil this part because it is in the trailer, and I would love to give Sam a shout out who played Harry. Who we were talking about earlier, and you know, there was Harry, who turns out to be someone you don't know who, but he's almost like a MacGuffin in the sense that he has very little to do with the plot until he does.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, go ahead and talk. You know, talk about Harry for a second.
Oh my god, so originally these two characters, they kick in the door, and here is this fucking Harry, you know, and he goes, what's the line that he says as it zooms in?
I believe he says, "I've been waiting on you sons of bitches."
That's the one. I've been waiting on you sons of bitches, and it like fucking zooms in, as if
right.
It felt so funny to me, and it felt intentional, but it felt personally, and I know we've talked about it prior, but personally, it felt like the scene in Kill Bill where she's like practicing with this fucking sensei, sorry.
Yeah, well, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
No, that was most definitely intentional. Harry, my friend Sam Brashears, gosh, he's such a great friend of mine. He's run so many Dungeons and Dragons and like Mutants and Masterminds, kind of like tabletop games that I've been a part of. And so, like, as far as the specific shot, I met with my cinematographer at like a Starbucks, one of these little ritzy little coffee places, because I mean, like, Hot Springs, for what it's worth, it's a beautiful town. All of this was shot in Hot Springs, downtown Hot Springs. All of the locations were probably within 5 minutes of each other. But so we met at this, you know, like coffee shop, and we were talking about like different types of shots. And so you're talking about a first-time director. The cinematographer, he was like, okay, do you want like an extreme close-up? Do you want a close-up? Do you want a medium? Do you want a wide? Do you want a cowboy? I was like, what does any of this mean? And so he sat there and he was like drawing it out, and then I got it, and I mean, I've heard Tarantino himself, say that it doesn't. What's going on?
No, I'm trying to share it so we can, get more views on this.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
But don't stop, please.
Okay. So, he was explaining to me all these different shots, and I remember, like, what does this mean, And so he drew it out, he explained it to me in terms I could understand, and I was like, and by the time he was through, I was like, oh, like, I've seen that before. Like, now I have some sort of connection. Like, what he was talking about, the extreme close-up, I was like, that's just like Sergio Leone, It's like, that's the eyes, So I already kind of knew these things. It was just I didn't know the words to use.
Yeah.
And so with Sam, who played Harry, coming from this kind of comedic background, he's done tons of improv classes, and he's just hilarious. I mean, I think that goes along with the territory of, playing Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. But I was talking to my cinematographer, and I was like, these are clips from Django, like, kind of like Kill Bill, but like that scene where, DiCaprio turns around and he's got the cigarette and he's like, you will? And it's like, zoom, it just slams in.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hilarious. That was very much intentional, very much a nod to Tarantino. So I'm glad that kind of showed through. And Sam, I mean, that for only having like 6 lines, and I think we even joked about, like, is some bitches like 1 word, 2 word? How does that count? For only the 1 line of dialogue he had, he was fantastic. Go ahead and pull that up.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Don't look at my Discord, you fucks, you dirty bastards. Ah! There we go. And then we'll go right into the Hopeless Romantic short film. I gotta find where it's at. But like I said before, this scene alone killed me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play it a little bit before they come in, where he's like looking outside.
Yeah. Old people do say a lot of stuff. That is true.
He's looking out. It's fucking,
yes.
Dude. Oh my god, this shit killed me. I laughed for like 30 minutes, and I didn't know, like, it felt intentional.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, oh no.
And another thing to note in this scene, like, as soon as, like, he comes in, he shoots his friend, and even then his character goes, did you see his shotgun? Like, I fucking loved it so much. Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, well, okay, so first of all, I will respond to Zach in the comments. The color grading was kind of intentionally
Breaking Bad.
Darker on purpose. That was kind of a little Mexico kind of. Actually, if you go back earlier in the car ride that they have, there's songs playing, and one of those songs was kind of this little jaunty Mexico tune. It kind of sounds like it's out of From Dusk Till Dawn. Where'd you go? No.
Sorry. I didn't know if my dog ran it or not.
So as far as Sam, it's no secret that he dies or that his character dies.
Yeah.
But as far as him dying, that was actually intentional as well. I won't say that I wrote it with him in mind, but it kind of became this running gag because what had happened was um, Sam had worked on one other film before, and I'll send you a link to that film. I wasn't a part of it in any sort of way, but it's been out for, gosh, a couple years now. And it was called Lullaby of Violence Extreme. And so, like I said, I mean, this was released 3 years ago. Um, his character does not fare very well in it either.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? This could be hilarious if we just made this a running joke that every film we do, he's gonna die.
Yeah.
I mean, people talk about that with Sean Bean, and then Steve Buscemi, and
Yeah.
stuff. Like they always die, and that was kind of what the plan is with Sam for any future project. As long as I write them, he's gonna not end well. And that was I mean it was funny because we just yeah, it was very much intentional. Everything about that scene was very intentional. One thing I would like to point out, there as far as intentional things and homages to that scene, or in that scene, and this is kind of an Easter egg. We've discussed Easter eggs before. Um, One of the things that was done on purpose is Jack Brooks, my composer, um, he did the score, and I was talking to him like, I need this, moment to be really tense.
Yeah.
I need there to. I mean, it is kind of darkly comedic in its execution, but I want you to feel like you're in this kind of room, like you're trapped and you're watching this gun violence.
100%. I mean, there is a split second in there where you're like, "Fuck!" Like he just shot off a gun, and it hit him in the arm. I mean, it's a hard breach for like a normal person.
It was very hard to pull off. It was very ambitious. I didn't realize how ambitious it was when I wrote it. But Gail Cron was another person I can shout out. Did all of the special effects, all of the makeup. Absolutely fantastic. Cannot recommend her enough. And the guns, of course, supplied by my friend Zeke, who was a technical producer. Shout out to him. But as far as the score in that scene, what we did was I sent the composer. It was a piece of music that was not used in John Carpenter's 1982 The Thing. It is nowhere in the film, but it was on the soundtrack. And it was a track called Bestiality, was the original name of the track. And it sounds like something out of a John Carpenter film.
Yeah.
but it's this very tense, like a fugue. And so Tarantino used that song, that piece of score at the very end of The Hateful Eight. And so what's funny is, this is a little fun fact of trivia. John Carpenter, when he used Ennio Morricone for the score on The Thing, Ennio Morricone was nominated and won a Razzie Award for the worst score of that year. But
Really?
yeah, this is true, and I mean, I can't even imagine because he's one of the best.
I'm so sorry. Walker, your question is next, I promise, because that's a great question.
Let
Please
me
continue.
finish this one thing, and then
Yeah.
I will take Walker's question. So, the funny thing is, it was nominated for worst score of the year when Tarantino used it in The Hateful Eight and had Morricone compose that entire new score for The Hateful Eight. Ennio Morricone won his first Oscar.
Really?
So so he both won a Razzie and an Oscar for the same piece of music in a way. No, what's Walker's question?
Oh, sorry. Again, that was. So Walker QW asked, in the future, do you see yourself trying to help build the Arkansas film scene, or do you think you'll move on from Arkansas? Both are valid answers. Just curious.
So, it's a good question.
Absolutely.
I don't want to stay in Arkansas forever. Um, Not in the sense that I would, try to film like a feature length film entirely in Arkansas. But and I think that's more on, not to get political, but there's some kind of interesting politics here in Arkansas, some government issues with, I mean, you look at Amazon Prime, they just put out a film a few years ago called Arkansas, written and directed by a guy who was born in Hot Springs, Arkansas. It stars, which is my hometown, okay?
Yeah.
It stars John Malkovich. It's got Vince Vaughn. It's, Liam Hemsworth is in it. Like, it's a great film. It's a fantastic film. And the whole thing is set in Arkansas, in Hot Springs, Arkansas. The problem is, about the last 10 minutes, aside from some insert shots, are filmed in Arkansas. The whole rest of the film was filmed in Oklahoma or somewhere else because of tax problems. And, the local government thought that it was not a good reflection of Arkansas because of its drug dealing plot.
Yeah.
And so that's unfortunate, but I don't know. It's like, yeah, if we could turn Arkansas into the next film hub, I'd love that. But I'm not going to write stuff and change my style.
I
To fit
100% agree, man.
fit Arkansas, it's like they have to kind of, meet somewhere in the middle because I think, yeah, I think there's definite potential for Arkansas as far as its landscape and locations and all that. I mean, I think it's got amazing potential. It could definitely be the next Atlanta or wherever. But
I mean, I was just about to add, fucking, when I heard when I was doing extra shit for HBO that Georgia actually did like some tax shit so that more films would come to it, I thought that was incredible. I mean, I'm sure Arkansas. I mean, from what I saw in the fucking movie, Arkansas is a beautiful place.
it is. It's really beautiful. I mean, and if you watch Arkansas on Amazon Prime, which again was written and directed this dude who grew up in my hometown, there is one scene at the very, very end that is a shootout, kind of a Mexican standoff in a bathhouse, and that place is on like downtown Hot Springs. It's not only like 10 minutes from my house, but it's like 5 minutes from where we were shooting.
Yeah.
But it's called Bathhouse Row, and it's historical, and it's fantastic. But those like 10 minutes of that Mexican standoff or that little last battle was basically all that was shot here in Arkansas.
And I'm sure there's like 100 different reasons for it. You know, between taxes, between fucking pricing, like everything has to be ridiculous. Like if I was gonna shoot a film, my first thought wouldn't be Arkansas. You know, it'd probably be like
No, yeah,
California,
exactly.
Georgia.
I mean, and I think there are people that are working to change that. There's locations in Arkansas that I would shoot at. You know, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. I've got some of those in mind. I mean, the locations that we shot at, for example, I wouldn't mind doing a feature film and bringing some real talent to those locations. You know, I mean, because they have an aesthetic, they have a feel. Um, so I don't know. You know, it's kind of a mixed bag. You know.
Fuck yeah. Good question.
You got a question.
But we have another one. Sorry, Walker QW. ZWS, what other productions have you worked on and in what capacity?
Okay, so Hopeless Romantic. Yeah. Now, as far as that was really my first project. When I walked onto the set of Hopeless Romantic, I was totally green. You know, had no prior experience. I had seen a lot of movies. I think that kind of shines through in Hopeless, um, and certain things. But so I knew I had an idea of what a director's job was, but I remember even Mark's kind of getting getting mad at me because I didn't know to call action. You know, it's like there was a moment where I was like, "Lights, camera, go," and he still screws with me over it to this day. I just thought that's what you did, you know. But as far as other productions, the productions, like Hopeless was the first one. I was a part of a small. Let me pull it up. Actually, during the during like the post production of Hopeless Romantic, I wrote a. Well, let me find it. I wrote a 5-minute kind of teaser trailer that starred Gail Cron as herself, in a very self kind of parody sort of way. It was like a spin-off way to drum up interest, kind of tease the release of the film happening on Christmas.
Yeah.
And we directed that over Facebook, like FaceTime. Like she was doing it and I was kind of directing it. It was called A Very Hopeless Christmas, with apologies to Bruce Willis. And there was a lot of jokes in that about Die Hard. And, you know, is that a Christmas movie? Is Hopeless Romantic a Christmas movie? So that's that. Those two are the only production or films that I've been a part of up until I've got some future projects coming up that I would love to talk about.
Oh,
Do you want to
absolutely.
do that at the end, or?
Yeah, absolutely. There's only a couple more things I want to talk about in the film, and then after that.
Yeah, you had mentioned Easter eggs.
Yes. So I
Okay.
remember before we go on to that, I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself with my ADHD.
No, go ahead.
We do have one more question I want to get from the chat, and that was from Leah saying, "Do you ever see yourself experimenting within other realms of genres?"
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. No. You know, I enjoy crime, but I want to do a western. I'm working on a horror. I would not be opposed to doing a superhero movie. I would not be opposed to doing, a war movie or any sort of thing. I would just want to be able to do it in my style, what works for me, and kind of tell it the way that I know I could tell it. Honestly, I mean, I've thought about doing like something like Magnolia or something a little more maybe highbrow, in the sense of like it's kind of that Robert Altman, all of these interconnected stories and the experiences of these characters and dramas and things. But for right now, I'm like I said, I'm open to anything and everything as far as genre. It would just have to be in a way that was my style, that benefited, stories that I think I would be good at telling.
Fuck yeah, man. So sorry. One more question from chat. I'm gonna pull from. Uh, Leah says, "You said you were working on a horror movie. Who do you feel
Oh, yeah.
you would draw an inspiration from for a genre so different than what you're currently worked within?" So what I'm getting from that is,
Like which horror directors
yeah,
do I like? Okay. Gosh. I'm a big fan of John Carpenter. I love John Carpenter. I think his style fits very well within the kind of you know like Quentin Tarantino kind of vibes. Um, I think John Carpenter made some fantastic horror films with my favorites being The Thing, of course, The Mist. I was a big fan of gosh, what was it? I mean, even his like horror comedies, like Big Trouble in Little China. Those kind of things. I'm a huge John Carpenter fan. Another person that I like a lot in terms of older horror is I love Wes Craven. I mean, I think Wes Craven fits very well into into the style that I've kind of developed.
absolutely. Who doesn't love Wes Craven? You know.
He was such a genius, and I think he was so self-aware. I mean, he was not afraid to break the fourth wall and be meta and have this meta humor, even of his own work. He's like, at some point, he's even just making fun of himself. I mean, he's like dressed as Freddy Krueger as a janitor in Scream. It's
Yeah.
just like, I mean, that's such a clever, darkly comedic sort of way of doing things, and I admire that about him. New Nightmare, of course, is like one of the best.
Oh.
I,
I'm sorry.
yeah,
sorry.
and go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no, no. I wasn't gonna say anything. I was just being me.
I love David Cronenberg. Love his stuff. Sam
Again.
Raimi. I'm also a big fan of Italian giallo films. And I recently watched The Neon Demon by Nicholas Winding Refn. I don't know how to pronounce that. But it was this very artsy, like Suspira sort of thing, and I really got into it. I enjoyed it. Those kind of. I mean, I think, even I think Suspira, Blood and Black Lace, Mario Bava's Black Sabbath. Those are all fantastic horror movies. And I think one thing that's an interesting subgenre of horror isn't just horror comedy or horror or like meta horror, like what we were discussing, but an interesting subgenre of horror is like horrors that cross over with another genre.
Oh, absolutely.
So if you've seen Bone Tomahawk on Amazon Prime with Kurt Russell and Patrick Wilson, that is a full-on Western. Like, that's like, you could have made that back with, like, John Wayne. It's like The Searchers, but at the very end, it's something else.
That's exactly how I feel about Robert Eggers with The Witch and fucking The Lighthouse. Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's like it could be a completely different genre, but at the end of the day, it is horror, but it upholds that standard of horror. At the same time, it still gives you like a interesting movie. And it's not all about, jump scares or whatever. It's very, it has a lot of substance.
And I like Robert Eggers. I'm not a fan of Ari Aster. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I don't seem to get into his style.
Yeah.
But Robert Eggers is a good example. I also, there was a horror movie I saw recently. Drawing a blank. But yeah, I mean, you look at like Bone Tomahawk, and you look at like From Dusk Till Dawn was another one where you start out as something. I remember another horror film that I liked, and I'm not even sure it really counts as a horror film, but it was one that really just stuck with me for a long time, and that was Seven. You watch
Seven's outstanding.
It's an amazing film. Yeah, I would argue it's probably, besides like, Fight Club, I mean, it's one of the best David Fincher movies he's ever made. And that to me was truly horrific, just in the brutality and the nihilism and the nastiness of it. I mean, it's a great horror film.
Two of the movies that I've found like really interesting within like the current times of I don't want to say horror, but like I don't even know what to call them. Like Hereditary and Midsummer, which I'm pretty sure were both Ari Aster, right?
I don't know. Yeah, I have kind of a controversial opinion about Ari Aster.
Please share.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't want to piss off Ari Aster's army.
He's not watching my stream.
Okay, all right, well. So to me, Ari Aster is so just brilliant about his first and second act.
Mm.
So I watched Hereditary, and I absolutely loved it. I was like, oh my god, it's a brilliant movie. The performances are brilliant. The cinematography is brilliant. There is this sense of horror and impending doom and hopelessness that is just like this cloud hanging over the movie and the family and the death and the grief. I mean, and it's almost played in a way like The Shining, where like half the time you don't know if this character, Toni Collette, is actually losing her mind or if she's possessed, what's going on, The last 10 minutes, though, really took me out of that film. When there's the treehouse scene. That was my biggest complaint.
I get that.
I think, and I mean, not to knock, Ari Aster, obviously he's brilliant in what he does, but I think his third acts are really what's off-putting to me about him. Like the treehouse scene in Hereditary, and also the very last few minutes of Midsommar. It's like I don't really understand his decision-making process and how he ends his film.
I completely agree with you on that. I mean, what I can't agree with you on is Hereditary's ending, because that song is like a fucking siren song to me. When I hear the whatever the fuck it was, it drives me insane. It's like, I love that. But Midsummer, at the end,
Yeah.
I think his brand is not really understanding, and then like there's some asshole YouTuber. No, I want to say asshole. Some YouTuber is like, oh well, at the end he jumped out the window, and then there was a little spirit that flew in. Like,
Yeah, I don't know why Adam Sandler is reviewing Ari Aster. But like, we need to do Uncut Gems with Ari Aster. but
Before
no,
I say
no.
anything else, as we're bringing up Uncut Gems, look at me. If this ever reaches Adam Sandler, fuck
Yeah.
you for that movie. I loved it, but the only suspense you gave us was people talking over people, and I don't live in New York, so I don't understand that. So go fuck yourself.
Okay, I want to stop you right there because I loved
Please.
Uncut Gems.
I
man.
loved it, but the fucking the only suspense they had in that movie was like, Adam says this, and then someone else says something, but over him. Like that's like all I got from that movie.
No, I mean, I think everybody in that movie is so coked out of their heads. I think it's supposed to just give you a panic attack. It's like, I don't know.
That's what fucking happened. I was like, what the fuck? Like, am I supposed to watch this movie or not?
I really got into it. I mean, I loved it.
The ending?
And I like, I loved it. The whole
Oh
thing.
my God.
It's brilliant. I loved, I'd say another one that I loved with Adam Sandler was Punch Drunk Love. My God, that's a brilliant film.
I don't think I've seen that.
It's Paul Thomas Anderson. Like Boogie Nights, I mean, that it's the same guy, and it's this beautiful little romantic comedy that doesn't seem like it would work at all, but it kind of works. And it's Adam Sandler trying to collect pudding cups.
Yeah.
Because that was like a real thing, was like these pudding cups, you would collect them, and if you collected so many tops, they gave you frequent flyer miles. This was a real thing that happened, and it's loosely inspired by that because somebody figured out that there was the company hadn't remembered to put a limit on how many frequent flyer miles or how many frequent flyer miles you could get from the pudding cups. So if you just bought like $1 million worth of pudding, you could throw all the pudding in the trash and you could travel the world for the rest of your life.
I'll have to watch it. That sounds actually kind of interesting.
It's very interesting. It's a very weird little odd gem.
Again, before we end this thing, two things.
Okay, yeah, I did want to talk about the Easter eggs, and I wanted to plug some other projects.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you have anything else, or
just the Easter eggs? And again, I want you to plug for sure. And there was something else, but I'll remember it towards the end. So please tell us about the Easter eggs throughout this film.
Okay, so Easter eggs. If you watch very closely, there is a moment where Marx pulls his gun and holds it directly at the camera. That's from Goodfellas. That's from that scene where Joe Pesci randomly just kind of fires his gun at the audience in a sense during Ray Liotta's final monologue, and it breaks the scene because up until that point, the whole thing has been Ray Liotta explaining, "I'm a schmuck. I'm gonna eat ketchup and noodles or whatever," and so that scene was kind of homage. Actually, if you pull up the movie, when they're in the hotel, go ahead and pull that up. In the hotel, you'll see there's a lamp with where Harry's sitting beside him, and it happened to be that the owner had that lamp, and I was like, that has to be in the movie.
Is that prior or before the execution?
It is. Well, it's both. I mean, it's in the room, but if you look closely at the lamp, there is a chevron black and white pattern on it. And that I'm a huge fan of David Lynch and Twin Peaks. And so that's kind of an homage to the floor pattern in the Black Lodge.
Yeah.
And then again, the singer is singing against red curtains. There's the blue light, which is obviously an homage to Blue Velvet and also Twin Peaks. Um, Gail Cron, who plays Skylar, there are some very specific shots that were recreated of Mia Wallace, and the way she was directed was directed in homage to Uma Thurman. I mean, God love Gail. I mean, she sat through 20 minutes of me like explaining the differences of how women have exhaled cigarette smoke throughout like the history of film. And I was like, okay, at the very end of it, I was like, do you notice like in this clip, of Pulp Fiction, she blows it out the side. Like it's not like forward, it's almost like this like side and up, and so that was very intentional and very like to the letter, you know.
Yeah.
So and also she kind of swirls her drink with a cherry, like the milkshake in Pulp Fiction.
I did notice that.
Yes.
I did notice that. I
Yes,
was like, oh, that's
it's a $5 milkshake, man. It must be pretty good. They don't put bourbon in it.
must be a goddamn good milkshake, huh?
Yeah. So that was all intentional. The other thing that I would mention that is intentional is that there's a ton more than I can go through because I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But one that kind of springs to mind was we had the camera guy get up on a ladder and point down at a certain character at the end, like as he's laying on the ground. Okay? The reason we did that is because if you notice in a lot of Martin Scorsese movies, he has this tendency to show people that are dead from this God's eye view.
Yeah.
And it's always like you're up high looking down on their body. And so that was also very intentional with that character. The character who died, he kind of walks forward and stumbles forward a little bit, and it's we didn't get it down just perfect. I know you had mentioned before that was kind of one of your complaints was like the actual kind of mechanics of him walking forward and stuff. I kind of take credit for that because what we were trying to do, gosh, it is funny. There was a more experienced guy that was working on the set.
Yeah.
And I was trying to direct Jeff, and he pulls me aside, and he's like, "Man, you're really really into this, like, walking, and like you're trying. I know you're trying to do something." And this guy, I mean, Brian Ingerman, he's worked on a ton of stuff. He's got, his own, projects, and he's represented and worked with some real horror icons like I'm trying to think. Felissa Rose from Sleepaway Camp. He's worked with Tony Todd from Candyman. I mean, Cheryl Lee, who's also from Twin Peaks, and just great guy. And he pulled me aside, and he's a huge film buff. I was like, what are you trying to do here? Like, and he even asked me if it was Tombstone, where Johnny Ringo walks to his grave. I was like, no, it's Breathless. It was 1960s Breathless, and there is one scene that that death scene is actually in black and white, and there's reasons for that. But as far as him walking forward that distance, if you've ever seen the 1960s Jean-Luc Godard film Breathless, the ending where this certain character dies, who is not unlike
Yeah.
the character that dies in this film, uh, he kind of stumbles forward for a long period of time and just collapses into these French city streets. And there was something very poetic about that I really, really liked. And it's a foreign film. If you ever get the chance to watch it, try to find it. It is a really fantastic film. Really changed the course of cinema. I think the Criterion Collection said that there is before Breathless and there's after Breathless. So that was kind of an intentional nod. Um, yeah. So,
Well,
all right, now let's plug some stuff.
Well, before that, let me just say, so again, you're my first fucking, interview on here, man. It's amazing
it's an
to
honor,
have
my
you.
friend. Thank you.
I'm just glad there's people like you that are out there that are making movies that are interesting to watch instead of, the fucking feed they've been giving us for years, I believe that a new renaissance
and
is upon us, and I believe people like you and fucking Ari Aster and fucking, a lot of people are here for it to push forward, and I'm glad that you're one of them. You're a super nice guy, and it was nice to talk to you. Please plug everything that you have.
Okay, you can find me on Facebook. You can look up Hopeless Romantic Short Film. There is Beason's with an apostrophe Dogwood Studios. There is you can find me at B Movie Magic on Instagram and Twitter. And gosh, I'm working on a couple of feature-length scripts myself. I am working on one under the working title of Love, Sex, Violence, which is almost an expansion of the ideas in Hopeless Romantic.
Yeah.
I'm working on another one, which is my horror film, that is a desire for flesh. I've got a couple of other things that I'm writing that we'll be pursuing pre-production on soon. In the meantime, I have been brought on as a line producer on Paragenics, Shadow of the Mind, and Clinton Robeson of R&R Productions, fantastic guy, just great, talent himself. He's doing some cool things. He hired me with my connections to bring on some stars to his project. Um, it's an independent film. They've got most of their funding. If you would like to help crowdfund that project, it's a sci-fi thriller. It's got this kind of mind-bending, like alternate reality, schizophrenia, mental like craziness going on. I will send you the link to the Indiegogo. Um, and message me on Twitter, message me on Instagram. Every dollar helps. We're trying to get this off the ground. And there's T-shirts available. I mean, it seems really cool. We've brought on Skeeta Jenkins, who is a pretty big guy, a pretty big name right now. He's on the up and up. I mean, the dude is fantastic. He's been working with. Uh, he did a horror film called Satanic Panic with Rebecca Romaine. Skeeta also did a film that was written and directed by S. Craig Zahler. It was the newest Puppet Master, or not directed, but it was written by Zahler. And it was It was called Puppet Master: The Littlest Reich. He played Cuddly Bear. It's a fantastic, funny horror comedy. It's great. You should check it out. Skeeta's a part of Paragenics. We've got Shannon Brown, who's another kind of up and comer. Did a horror comedy called Halloween, and kind of a more subtle, dark comedy romance film that he was a part of called The Misadventures of Mistress Maneater. I'm so honored to be a part of Paragenics and helping them out with casting and producing and just kind of moving up this ladder, man. It has been, Hopeless Romantic really opened a lot of doors for me, and it's just been an honor to see the reaction, not only here in Arkansas, but just around the world, man. It is fantastic. So thank you for having me on. If you
Thank
would,
you for coming on, man. You're an inspiration to
no,
myself.
absolutely, dude. Please play that teaser trailer. Just give people a little taste
absolutely.
of what Paragenics. Now, remember, this is just a teaser, but let's.
Before I play this, Leah, do you mind sending that up in chat real quick for me? I don't know if you're still in here, but I need you. Please send the Paragenics trailer.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find it real quick. There we go.
Oh, okay. By the way, do not watch The Strange Things About the Johnsons. That movie screwed me up. Like, you'll never be the same after it. That is the Indiegogo campaign. I did send you, I believe, the teaser. Here we go. Let's watch this.
All right, I'm gonna start playing the Paragenics. Is that okay?
Yeah, and just let's fade out. I will call cut on director.
All right, man.
Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you so much again, Stephen Beason. Please give him a round of applause. This man is amazing, super nice. You're an inspiration to me, man. I hope I can make a film that shines a candle close to your film.
Thank you.
Of course, man. I'm gonna play this.
I would love to come back. I mean,
Dude, you keep doing your films. You hit me up. I'll be here.
All right, man. All right.
All right, I'm gonna play this film, and then after that, I'll end the stream.
All right. Thank you.
Of course, man.
Morning, everyone. Long day. To all my friends and supporters of our great town of Johnston, thank you for putting your faith in me. Many of you have heard there's been rumors going around lately regarding my health. I regret to inform you, it's sadly true. So what began with a few sleepless nights has turned into something much, much worse. Yesterday morning, I was diagnosed with early-stage schizophrenia. And because of this, the other members of City Council determined to revoke my status as City Councilman. They say I'm a danger to myself and to others. They might be right. I'm so sorry to have let you all down. I've let myself down. And now, I must move on from politics and seek the help and treatment that I need. Nope. So all of you.
All right, one more fucking round of applause for Steven Beason. Thank you so much, man. Fuck yeah. It was a great interview. You were a perfect person, man, and I hope you come back on the show sometime. Well, not the show, the shitty Twitch stream.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor. Thank you for having me, man.
Fuck yeah.
It's great. Yeah, and I did not write Paragenics. I'm not directing, but I'm glad to be on board. And support indie film, man.
Fuck yeah.
Really, all of us are trying to do something and offer something just a little bit different.
It's better than most of the film that mainstream media is trying to push you. All right.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you guys so much for being in chat. Again, thank you, Steven, so much. You are an inspiration to me, and hopefully I can have a film that I can send you at some point.
Yeah, well, then I would interview you. Now, the real question we should pose to the chat, was this as good as the Joaquin Phoenix, David Letterman interview?
Obviously.
Obviously, yeah.
I mean, I took a piss midway.
I'm glad I get to be Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, honestly, I'm glad I'm David Letterman.
Yeah, exactly. We live in a society. Am I supposed to say that?
Dude, I can't grow a mustache good enough for cleft lip.
Yeah, right.
But thank you so much for being on, man. And if you guys missed any of the interview, please go onto my YouTube and watch the entire thing. Thank you so much, Steven. Have a wonderful night.
I'll be sharing it as well. So.
Dude, please do. I am a whore for attention. Have a nice night, everybody.
And on that night, good night. Stay tuned for Conan.